I said, why did you kick a customer's car? February will be 21 years in this industry, and again, we've employed thousands of people, and we've had very interesting stories. You always have these cases where people are accusing you of taking things out of their car. So the first story is, someone accused me of stealing a set of Jimmy Buffett tickets out of a car when I was 20 years old. I had no idea who Jimmy Buffett was or anything like that. So luckily, the restaurant was very good, and they stood behind me and let me know, bottom line, of, I don't think your valet stole your Jimmy Buffett tickets, so chances are you probably lost them somewhere else. Along with this, someone accused me, they came up to me and they were very angry. They said, last week we parked with you and you stole something out of our ashtray. I said, sir, I assure you, I didn't steal anything out of your ashtray, but if you tell me what it is, we'll try to figure out what happened with it. He's like, I don't want to talk to you about it, but just know you took something out of my ashtray. I said, sir, what was it? I don't want to tell you. Well, did you call the police? No, I didn't call the police. What was it, sir? It was weed. You took my weed out of the ashtray. I'm like, sir, I did not take your weed out of the ashtray. First, I don't smoke. Second, I seriously doubt I would smoke anything after you. So, bottom line, I didn't take anything out of your car. Surprisingly, he didn't call the police for some strange reason, but nonetheless, I didn't hear from him anymore. Tying along with that, I got a call from one of my valets, and a very good valet of mine who's been with me for at least 10 years at that point. He said, Alex, this guy is accusing me of stealing a gun out of his car. I said, well, did you take it? He's like, obviously I didn't take it. He's like, but he's in my face, he's pointing fingers, he's getting really, really upset with me. So I said, you know what, call the police. It's not gonna hurt. Call the police, let the police come out. That's what they're there for. The valet's like, you can search my car, you can search my person. The officer told him, sir, is there anybody else who has access to your truck? He's like, no, it's just my wife and I. He's like, well, do me a favor, call your wife. So the gentleman calls his wife, and the wife's like, actually, yes, I did take the gun because you have an extreme anger problem. We had an Acura RDX parked in our parking lot, and we had the keys locked up in the key box podium. The criminals came in and distracted the valet. While they distracted the valets, they could tell that they scanned the box and got the codes for the keys, and they went over to this Acura RDX and was able to open it up within 30 to 60 seconds. After they got in the car, and with the valet still being distracted by some other parties that were around him, they were able to get that car started within 2 to 3 minutes and steal the car completely. Got a call from the insurance company the next day. We told them, hey, we're in full possession of the keys. They're full possession of the keys. We did nothing negligent. And they said, you're absolutely right. They heard about these people going around and are able to skim the programming on these cars and steal these vehicles. So we weren't responsible in that particular case, but now we're seeing it come to light even more and more and more. So it's something you definitely have to be concerned with. One particular night, it was about 10 p.m., and I get a phone call from the restaurant owner and the valets, frantic that 17 cars have just gotten booted in the parking lot. I called the boot company and they said they want the money now. They don't want credit card, they want cash. And 17 cars equated to about $1,200 that I needed to find at 10 o'clock at night. In the meanwhile, customers are starting to come outside and their cars are all booted. So I have to hightail it. I have to come up with $1,200 and get down to this restaurant, which is about 30 minutes away, as quickly as possible. The valets had an overflow lot and they parked in the wrong lot. They parked in a lot right next to it, and this booting company decided to boot the cars. Now what's funny is the boot company only had 5 boots in their possession, so they had to call all the other booters in the immediate area to come over to boot the remaining 17 cars. So I was very upset. And what happens in the world of booting, I got down there at 11 something, and each calendar day you're able to charge an additional amount. So when it hit midnight, they would have charged me double at that point. So I had to get everything paid off before midnight. The restaurant owner was so upset with us because we've now inconvenienced over 17 of their guests. He made me pay the bills for all of those. So that was an additional, so there was $1,200 for the boots, and I think we had another $500 or $600 bill. This turned into a $2,000 issue because the valets had 17 cars accidentally booted. We worked at a particular parking lot, and this parking lot had a very steep 45-degree slope. The valet gets into this car. It was a 2007, 2008 Nissan Altima, and he starts driving down a hill, steps on the brakes, and the brakes go to the floor completely. Pump the brakes, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. Nothing at all, and he ends up slamming into some type of Ford vehicle. The airbag blows, he gets out of the car, customers come out, my managers go to the location, and it is not good. It is not good. This Nissan Altima is now totaled. The other car is severely damaged. The cars go into the tow yard, and basically we have to now investigate and find out what happens, because right now we're completely liable for what happened. We have the car inspected, we open up the hood, and we realize the brake line is snapped off the master cylinder. So while we're looking at this, the customer is telling us that, no, the brake line, that must have occurred after the fact of the accident, because he had the brakes checked just a few weeks earlier and everything was just fine. We thought it was kind of odd. Why are you checking your brakes just randomly unless something happened or something's pre-existing? So one of my other employees happens to work at a dealership in a parts department, and he suggested that we look at the service bulletin and see if there's anything that came up. So ironically, we looked up and there was a particular case where 20-something cars were affected with master cylinder issues on these Nissan Altima. So I really shouldn't be talking about this because we're still kind of dealing with this with the insurance companies, but I'm pretty strong that we're going to work out just fine with this particular case. So one particular time, we had this one valet who worked in Atlanta, but in the summer times he would go down to Destin and valet down there a different account. So, but while here in Atlanta, he would see the same customer every single Wednesday come in with a very gorgeous girl. I don't want to really say she was a lady of the night, but she had a particular set of skills that he was interested in. So every single Wednesday he would come in and they would go to a very isolated table and have lunch. Now, in Florida, a couple of months later, the same valet who happened to be down there saw this gentleman come in with, now we know, is his wife. And when he announced him by name, the guy was kind of shocked. Oh my God. So the valet quickly picked up on it, didn't say anything, let the customer go inside. The customer came out 10 minutes later, must have ran to the bathroom or something, and handed the valet $100 and said, "You've never seen me before." I was driving a Ford Aerostar, and I was backing up, and I look over my shoulder, and I see this plexiglass box that's in the center console. I look inside, and there's a massive snake. I don't care how big it was, I'm scared of snakes. I don't like snakes. I don't like being around them, especially within a foot of where I'm at. So I almost freak out and crash this car into a wall. I didn't, but I almost did. I locked this car up, whatever position it was in, and gave the customers their keys back. I didn't want to see this car, this snake, or anything ever again. But while you're inside of cars, there are crazy things that you see over the years. One of my valets sent a picture of a dummy that was in a car. The customer was very scared. She was a paranoid lady and she always felt people were following her. So she put a full-fledged dummy, dressed up with the outfit, with shirt, tie, everything, in her passenger seat, and she would drive around town with it. Figured the criminals wouldn't follow her home if she had someone in the car with her. So these are things that you would see. But one of the valets who parked the car was not the same valet that pulled it up. So when the valet ran into the car and jumped in and looked over, he almost had a heart attack because there was someone sitting in the passenger seat. It's kind of rumored that if you're a valet of certain restaurants, they give you sometimes 50% discount to eat at the locations. Well, this one particular restaurant didn't, and the valet assumed that it did, and they assumed that they even knew him. He had 2 girls with him. He ordered all this food. The bill came up to $150, and he's expecting at least to be cut in half, if not comped. Well, this valet didn't have very much money at all, so when the bill came and the girls didn't want to pony up for their portion, the valets decided to go to the managers and let them know they don't have any money and they're a valet and they should be comped. So we get a call at 10 at night asking us if we have a particular valet that works for us. So yes, we have to now say, yes, we're going to pay the bill. We'll pay you tomorrow morning. Please let the valet leave your restaurant. We'll take care of it. One morning, I got a phone call from a gentleman that said he had a big dent in the side of his pickup truck. I said, okay, I'm very sorry. He says, it looks like a footprint almost. I said, well, that's strange. Obviously, we didn't do that. It could have been a passerby. We try to secure our lots as much as possible, but can you send me a picture? So he sends me a picture, and it definitely looks like a footprint on it. You can clearly see the footprint still on it. I said, well, we wouldn't do anything like that, but I can ask my valet if he noticed anything or anything like that, so just give me a moment. Let me call my valet. So I called this valet up. I said, hey, this gentleman's saying this pickup truck has a dent in the side of it. Do you know anything about that? He said, yes, I do. I said, what happened? He's like, I kicked it. I said, why did you kick a customer's car? He's like, I was driving and the brakes went really low and it took me everything in my might not to hit this Audi A8. So he's like, I got out the car, I was frustrated, and I kicked it. This is a valet, honestly, who's probably one of my calmest valets, But I guess when you put him near in the face of death, he's going to react. Called the gentleman and told him, yes, we did in fact kick the car. This is why we kicked the car, and please get an estimate. Turned out to be $800 to fix it. We wrote him a check and everything was fine. I got a phone call from a restaurant owner that said, hey, we have a female customer that said your valet followed her to a hotel and knocked on her door at 12 o'clock at midnight. I said, okay, let me get to the bottom of this. Please give me your number. So she gave me her number. She said, yes, your valet was knocking on my door. He must have gotten my information from my car, from the registration of checking into the hotel. But at 12 o'clock in the morning, he was knocking on my door and my husband heard it and he was very upset. I said, okay, let me get this valet a call. So I called this valet. I said, what was the story? He said, Alex, you're not going to believe me, but she invited me to the hotel. She invited me to the hotel and she wanted me to come all night, but I actually waited until the end of my shift, and after the shift, I went over to the hotel. Well, at the same time, her husband must have discovered what hotel she was staying at, because when I got out of the car, the husband got out the car at the same time and we were both knocking on the same door. So I think that's the story she came up with to explain why the valet must have gotten my information and showed up at the hotel at the same time. It was completely insane. I called the lady back. I told her, hey, this is the story. The lady's like, that's not true. That's not accurate. I said, you know what? Call the police. Let them investigate us then. Never heard a word from her again. But this valet decided at 9 o'clock at night, mind you, we're open until 11, to go inside and drop all the keys on the host stand of a restaurant. So the valet then leaves on his skateboard and rides down the block. I get a call an hour later saying keys are missing off this host stand. I said, okay, on my way. So I get down there and realize there's now 3 keys missing. One to a Tesla. Luckily, the car is still located in the parking lot. One is to a Audi A3 and one is to an Acura. Police come out. We get the people home to their respected areas, but we're upset with this valet. Where is our valet? He's not answering the phone calls. He's not explaining why he left in the middle of the night, and he's nowhere to be found. So my manager comes down. He's with the police. We get into their records to find out where this valet lives, and we go to his house. He is not home. It is now probably 11:30 at night and he's not home. So we are looking for him. So he finally shows up at midnight, once again on his skateboard, and he says he put all the keys there and that's all we know. So we still to this day don't know what happened to the 3 sets of keys and the 2 stolen cars. Cars were found with global positioning and GPS with minimal amounts of damage, but property stolen out of the car. So we've since paid for that. These are all the different issues that we sometimes have to deal with in the valet world, but this is the one that we're still puzzled about because we really don't know what happened.